say that I am extremely elated to be with you once again this afternoon. And I have mixed feelings. You know, I don't know whether it was by divine or design, but the song that was played before I was called, or I've been called to speak, happened to be one of my best songs. So I wanted it to continue. Yes, that one and Adom by Dinah Hamilton. Those are my favorite songs. So DJ, make sure that when I finish, you continue with it. So, Madam Chairperson of this very prestigious occasion, Madam Perfect Titiati, our host regional person, Mr. Robertson Moses Aniba, our keynote speaker, Dr. Robert Kaba Al-Hassan. I think that he deserves another round of applause. You see, we have all become so steeped in diplomacy, such that now, by the time we finish giving us our speeches, is so flat, without punches. But he had a lot of punches. At a point, I had to dodge. Punches were about to hit me, but I loved every moment of his delivery. I mean, clearly it shows that he's an academic who is very much in touch with what is happening in the country and beyond. The manager for Stanbic Bank and a guest of honor, Madam Malwin Amenu. On my way here, I also had a generous donation from Stanbic. We are extremely grateful for the kind of support that he offered. Regional and district executives of GRNMA, the members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I must say that I'm in very good company. When I was here last year, I was actually thinking how you'd be able to do better than you did last year. But as I entered here, I see how resplendent everybody is dressed. I see the kind of people that we have been able to assemble this year. I can say with no iota of doubt and with a lot of confidence that this year certainly has been way better than and I'm even more proud because when you do any kind of comparative analysis, you look at the quality of people, especially with a nursing background, I dare say that you even have the competitive advantage to beat anybody. And I say this because, listen, I've been engaging Sami Numana, is that the? Yes. He happens to be one of our best nurses in Lente, Ketu South. He's done so much, and I know that he's part of the original executives. And if at that point he can deliver in his own chip zone and be noticed across the country, then that tells me that you guys have a lot of talent. I have one of my best district directors of health service, Madam Perfect Titiati. You see, the name that was given her was actually a revelation of what she was going to be in life. Perfect. And again, your chairman and the keynote address, I've already highlighted that already. So putting all this together, I think that I couldn't have been any place better. When I was held up by another event and I was trying to disentangle myself, and I didn't want to miss any moment, I just chanced upon your link. Yeah. So even before I got here, I was following everything live and colored. That is another feather in the cap of the organizers, and I'm so impressed by it. Thank you. So this is one of the most important human resource groups in Ghana, and I also posit. I complement what Dr. Robert Kabad Hassan has said. Not only within the health sector, let me be very clear on that, even beyond the health sector. This is one of the most important human resource groups. Your makeup actually makes you able to stand up tall wherever you are. And I actually don't even subscribe that we limit our influence to only the health sector. And I'm happy that at the end of Dr. Alassan's delivery, he mentioned that we should even go beyond the health sector and take commanding leadership positions across the country. I believe that Ghana is definitely going to be a better place if we have more of you in charge of more sectors in this country. I extend my gratitude to the GRNMA for the opportunity to also share my thoughts on this very important occasion. Our collective passion for health fuels our commitment towards the total and holistic development of the region. And I bring to you the personal felicitations of the Railway Minister and Honorable Member of Parliament for Kokwai constituency, Honorable John Peter Amewu, who really wished to be here. I was informed that he had a very impromptu call from the highest office, which makes it impossible for him to be here. That was last night, but he sent his apologies, and I'm sure that in Chi, they say that when to and pay yasi. I don't know how many of you understand that, but if you are not present physically, something should show. So I'm sure his support is going to come in due course. At least I'll give him a lot of that pressure and ensure that he supports that both tangibly and intangibly. My Regional Director of Health Service, Dr. Timothy Lecha, also affirms his unflinching solidarity to all nurses and midwives in the Volta region. He says that everything that the health service has achieved is with your invaluable input. So if we turn that statement around, it means that we could not have achieved anything without your input. So we should get that clear. When Courage was speaking, he was willing things forever. But what we are ready to will forever is our unflinching support. Because of the kind, somebody is asking our unflinching support, how much is that? But I can tell you that it is worth more than anything. That we are with you every step of the way, and anything that we can do to ensure that there are better conditions of service, we will certainly do. So indications are clear from the numerous commentaries today, and I'm sure that even before today, that we have come so far, but yet still, there's so much to be done. Today's theme has also been chosen to reflect the contextual and contemporary events, and my work has been made so easy by Dr. Hassan. He has digested every part of this theme. There's almost nothing more to say. Next time, make sure I speak before him. Nurses and midwives, a voice to lead, invest in nursing and respect the rights of nurses to secure global health. So let me just summarize a few points, and after that I take my seat so that we attend to other equally important agenda on the agenda. So Ghana's approach to reaffirm the role of primary health care in achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals is based on our key primary primary healthcare policy, which is CHIPS, community-based health planning and services, is considered to be the most pragmatic strategy to deliver the promise of universal health coverage in this country and in this region. The key threats, now let us pay attention to this carefully, is the unwillingness of some of us health care workers to serve in extremely deprived areas. Most of us are now exposed to living conditions that expose us to the best of basic amenities. So now you can't put somebody somewhere where he doesn't have access to electricity, water, good internet connectivity, because every minute you want to be doing either Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and name it. So it is becoming extremely difficult to get nurses to work in certain areas. But we say universal, we don't say partial health care coverage. It's supposed to be universal. So who is supposed to be where? And even as the geographical or the equity in general improved, if you look at the geographical distribution, we still have a challenge in this country, in this region. Most of the nurses, when it gets to posting, everybody, your guess is as good as mine, wants to be either in O or Sogapapa. Now, if they find themselves to other districts, you go to Amnoga, they will prefer to be in Amnoga and not go to somewhere in Shina. And especially when they happen to acquire more skills. So this is a serious threat to us achieving our universal health coverage. It applies to all health workers. I'm taking a cue from Dr. Hassan's book, to be bolded to state it as it is. All of us, doctors, nurses, midwives, because of the kind of exposure that we have now, makes it very difficult to go to less endowed areas to deliver service. The rate at which these places develop may never meet our expectations. Yes, and it can be explained with so many theories. I'm sure you all know the Maslow's hierarchy of need. Yes, the very basic needs, your physiological needs. After that, you go to your safety needs. So if you've been exposed to good drinking water, good accommodation, where you have places where you live and you have ample security, and you now have to go to a place where your door can be kicked open even by a goat who is passing by. And then the love needs, the closeness to your relatives, to your husband, to your wife. And for those who have not reached there, to your, is it girlfriend or boyfriend or fiancé or fiancé, whichever it is. These needs all take us away from these endowed areas. Yes, we can also talk about the esteem needs, and when we get to the point of self-actualization, that's something different. But I'm saying that with these theories, it is clear that we, the health service, will also have to do something to meet you halfway, to bridge that gap. So that is why we have the rural incentives, which I believe pretty soon should be implemented in order that we'll be able to get people to go to some of these areas. I know the health service is done with the mapping to see who qualifies for what. Because we ourselves sometimes militate against some of these policies. Because the moment you say somebody who is living in, let's say, my village in Govinu or Lamushima, where there's no electricity, the moment you see that that person deserves some incentive, the person who lives 100 meters away from Flagstaff House is also going to tell you that he or she also has his or her own unique sets of challenges for which they have to be compensated for. So that becomes the difficulty. But if we are all clear that at this point, what we need to achieve universal health coverage first is to drive people, or attract people to these very difficult areas, then it's actually going to help in the smooth implementation of these policies. Because as you motivate others, you also don't want to demotivate others. So it is one thing that the GRNMA should also pursue, so that we have people moving towards these places. When I was coming here, I was listening to Chairman as well. He made some wonderful points. His book, again, the hearts and minds of a lot of the nurses. The matter of motivation. Where does it stop? Where does it end? Do we ever expect that we are going to be satisfied with the conditions of service that will never happen? That will never happen. Human beings inherently always want more. So that one, we should get it carefully clear. We are never going to stop wanting better conditions of service. So it is very appropriate for him to exert his authority as your chairman and fight for your interest. But before we go there, let us also acknowledge that we are all leaders in our own rights, and we can also contribute in motivating the staff that work with us, that work under us. That's also key. And before we do that, we also have to understand what motivates who. People would have different reasons to be motivated. So you as a leader, you might have to be able to tell what motivates who. But generally, a lot of people have, again, researched into staff motivation. And one of the most common theories that we use, we apply successfully, has been the Frederick Herzberg two-way factor theory. That will tell you about what causes dissatisfaction and what causes satisfaction. We call it the hygiene factors and the motivator factors. Mind you, what causes job dissatisfaction, when addressed, will not cause job satisfaction. Don't get confused here. What causes job dissatisfaction, when addressed, necessarily does not cause job satisfaction. That is what the theory says. So we should be able to identify these two clearly, because this is what is taking me to the next point of investing in nurses. We are investing in nurses in order that we have a well-motivated workforce amongst the nurses and the midwives. That is why we are investing. So we have to take into cognition everything, or cognizance, anything that is going to demotivate or motivate. So what are some of the factors that will cause this dissatisfaction? As nurse manager, as board in charge, what kind of policies do you have in place? What kind of instructions do you have in place? When your colleagues are on maternity leave, they have their small babies, what kind of policies do you have to make them feel like they are even coming to work? What kind of supervision do you offer them? What kind of relationship do you have with them? Is it one that builds, or is it one that destroys? All these you should bear in mind. And the conditions of service, your salary, those ones, yes, I agree. that we have to continue to always, I think it is a given that as a labor force, as the purchasing power reduces because of socio-economic conditions, you would have to restore your purchasing power by asking for increase in salary. So that goes without saying. And government negotiating, that's why you always have the three-way tripartite negotiations to be able to restore the salaries. But let me touch on what would also motivate them and see, so that we understand that some may be intangible, but there are some certain intangible things that we can also do to make sure that we are motivated. Do we recognize achievements from one of our own? If people are doing so well in the world, do we acknowledge them, or is all size fits all? Some of these recognitions would encourage others to also continue to work hard. That is why I am happy to be here again today, because I know that you are going to recognize people who have been outstanding over the previous year. But how do some of these things percolate down to wherever we are here, wherever we are, wherever we work, be it in the world, be it in the chip zone, wherever. If you find yourself in a place where you offer some leadership, how have you applied this? The work itself, how are you making it comfortable for the people who are there? What kinds of responsibility do you give people? Are there responsibilities that bring out the best in them and you equip them so that they feel that they are also offering something invaluable to the system? Or do you drive them like horses that you have come, you have been paid, you have to work? Advancement and growth is also one of the key motivators. And I heard Chairman again when he talked about the study leave quota. We can continue to discuss that. But there's always a fair balance between delivering service and also ensuring that there's advancement and growth of the individuals, because that is one key path to self-actualization to most of us. So the quota, everybody's wish would be that anybody who says that today I want to go to school, the person would leave. But what happens to the health service? And who suffers some of these consequences? Previous speakers have said, a bad health system, we are going to be victims of it ourselves. So even as we pursue some of these requested policies, let us do so in context so that it is always a win-win situation. What I here can put hand to chest and assure everybody is that in the Volta region, we have done so with integrity and we've done so equitably. We do so with absolute transparency. That you gone are the days where you see somebody serving 1, 2, jumps over those who have been in the system for 10 years and so on, depending on the courses you want to pursue. So everybody understands that there's some sense of fairness for everybody. So that sense of fairness will be there, but we'll continue to see how to expand the quota so that more people get the opportunity to pursue their dreams, but not to the detriment of the sector that will serve you and I, that will save you and I. So that one should be extremely clear to us. As I round up, two more points, then I'll sit down. There are various forms. You talked about leadership. Leadership, very important. Last year when I came, I talked extensively about your values and belief systems. Those are still key. That's why everywhere I go, I mean for CHAG, Ghana Health Service, our values pretty similar: people-centeredness, professionalism, teamwork, integrity, discipline, excellence. Those are our values. I've spoken about it extensively already. But let me also tell you about the kinds of power that you have. Power is your ability to influence the person next to you. You have formal power, informal power. Formal power, coercive power. Yes, you have the authority to tell you, if you don't do this, I'll punish you today. That is formal. An example of coercive power. You have the reward power. You know, I am your boss, so I have access to fund. If you do this, I'll reward you with this. That's reward power. And then you also have the legitimate power, which is the third form of formal power. You hold that power because you are district director, because you are medical superintendent, because you are head of facility. You hold that power, but there are two kinds of power that I believe all of us can hold, and hold very well. And I want us to focus on that. Expert power. That means that what you have been trained for, make sure that you do it to the best of your ability. And when you do that, you become indispensable. Wherever you are, people will chase you. That is why I began with Sami at the beginning. Wherever he is, we chase him to his chips compound because of the kind of service that he delivers over there. Sami, doesn't mean you should come and contest Moses for chairman. And then the referent power. The referent power. That the power that you have due to your own kind of relationship, your ability to connect with each other. This would enable you to connect to the base and influence. So you influence policy within your facility, you influence policy within your district, you influence policy within your region. So that even without holding that positional power as Director General of the Health Service, you can still influence things like the Director General of the Health Service. I said it earlier, don't limit your dreams to Director General, to Regional Director, even go beyond that. But I'm telling you that even beyond these positional sources of power, you can have power bigger than that belongs to you, whether you are in position or not. So we should be able to focus there as nurses and as midwives. The last point is the brain drain that Dr. Alassane spoke about. Usually, there ought to be an equilibrium where those who we train stay to improve our doctor population ratio, nurse population ratio, midwife population ratio. Some will leave, some will come. But the balance, the net balance, should always be positive. And there can be early indications of how things will be in the next few years. I think that's what he's referring to, Dr. Alassane is referring to. Looking into the future, perhaps he feels that, well, we can tip into the balance again, where those we train a lot more may leave than the number that we have, and that it is of utmost concern to everybody, including myself, who is currently in a position to also influence things under the guidance of my regional director. So we all have to do it together, looking at these factors that I've talked about. Factors that offer job satisfaction, factors that also prevent job dissatisfaction. Key. But one thing that I want to say is that when it comes to competition for socio-economic rewards, we are not on the same level like developed countries. There is no way that salaries in Ghana will be anytime soon. So definitely things are going to always go there. Today, I'm sure if you have a Boeing 707 aircraft landed here, and they say all those who want to go to UK, US, go in, I'm sure that I will be one of the very few people left here to address the entity. Somebody's asking me whether I'm sure. Perhaps I will try to even take over the pilot to maybe dream from. But that is the reality. That is the reality. So definitely you always ought to balance the service, what you have to offer to your country, to your community, to your reach, with what you intend to gain as an individual, even as you pursue the steps in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you don't balance it, there's no way that you would live a fulfilling life to you and your people and your country. It ought to be balanced. That is why, as health workers, as nurses, there is a higher authority. There's something higher than the ordinary. That's why we call it a vocation. Something higher than the usual. A calling to serve. And that is the only thing that could motivate you to overcome these socio-economic factors that pull you away from where the bigger challenges are. So we should always bear that in mind, that we have sworn a certain oath. So even as we pursue our advancement through legitimate means, let's also know that we have a part to play. So in many ways it has become more unique in recent times to be outstanding in the practice of nursing and midwifery. I've learned. I will therefore take this opportunity to congratulate the award winners for the extraordinary feat accomplished. I say so that it has become unique, because you know that one bad nut usually spoils the soup. And oftentimes, because of the kind of media penetration that we have, you receive bad reportage, and then we are all cast in a very bad light. So to have examples of people chosen for extraordinary conduct is something that we should highlight and celebrate. So may I crave the indulgence of all herein present to give them a commensurate round of applause. I always say that every accomplishment should set the foundation for the next task. I'm looking at you, so I think being at the front row means that you are the award winners, although you are not being unveiled yet. So it doesn't mean that you are supposed to end there. You are supposed to do much more, so that you justify your position as the best nurse. Dog bites man is no news. Man bites dog is news. So it becomes news if after you have been lifted this high, you are reported to be underperforming. That is news. So make sure that you build on this. And may the laurels that they receive today lead to renewed commitment and a sustained effort from all of us to brighten the corner in which we are. Chairperson, my very committed and dedicated district director, whom we are proud of, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I will end by appealing to our sense of personal responsibility. Each one of us has a role to play to make our health service better. And before I resume my seat, last year we came, we contributed only goodwill, and we contributed only unflinching support. And I'm sure that Moses is looking at us and saying that is it only unflinching support? silver or gold. I'm tempted to follow Dr. Hassan and also offer free research. But beyond that, let me also pledge the modest contribution of 2,000 cedis to if Stambik did 5,000 and a poor, but resourceful government worker does 2,000, then I think that we are not too far off. I do so on behalf of my regional director of health services. So thank you very much for your attention.